So what's the name of the show?
The show is called
Real Stories, Real People. This is how we heal, by turning our pain into power.
How We Heal, Turning Pain into Power.
Dope.
Yeah. I'm your host, Daddy Magic, and today I'm sitting down with
Diction Uno. What's up?
Diction Uno. Was there a point for you when art became necessary for survival?
Oh, probably, yeah. Definitely. It'd be hard to argue when. Maybe perhaps when I started it in the first place as a kid.
How old were you?
14.
14. Did you start rapping at that age?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you produce music?
I did. In the sense of executive producer, I executive produce all my own stuff.
Okay.
And I've helped production-wise because that doesn't necessarily make beats. But then in the beatsmith aspect, yes, but I haven't done it in a long time. I made beats from probably the last beat I made might have been somewhere around 2007-ish. So I made beats for 3 or 4 years, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, but I haven't made a beat in a long time. I mainly work with Smoke from Old Dominion.
You said, when I spoke to you yesterday, you and Zone used to be part of a group.
Yeah, we had a group called Big Bang, and then there was a K-pop band that had the same name, which helped our YouTube views out one time on accident, which was kind of cool. But we decided to change the name, so then it got changed to Proper Knox. It's like a big collective of people. We made more music than got released, but we did some tours, we released stuff, and then a lot of people within it solo and stuff. So, and then we had another group within that called Seventh Deadly that put out an EP and a couple of videos.
I've recorded here. I recorded with Silas.
Oh, yeah.
My song Methods.
Okay, yeah. I got Silas on a track I put out a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. But I just knew it as Zone's place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had no
Yeah,
idea.
right when you go in the door, there's a little sloth. I mean, we got the dungeon doors, and it's kind of dark when you go, so you might not. But to the left there's a little wooden sloth, and
Oh shit. Okay.
there's a puppet one down in there, and it's the name on Google Maps and all that good stuff. That's a whole can of worms. But essentially, when we had that crew, there was a song they made about sloths playing wall ball where they were high as shit. We used to do a lot of drugs. And and a lot of them was on downers back then. Some of us was on uppers, like Adderall, but a lot of them was on Klonopins and whatever. So it had something to do with it being slow. I think I might be misplaced. And then 2 dudes in the crew did an album, which I think just recently got released after being sitting in a vault for 10 years. It was called Sloth Livers, and there was literally a video where this puppet of a sloth was doing all this crazy stuff in the video. I don't know if that ever came out.
Oh, man.
That crew, it was like Herding Cats. This is really dope people, and we did a lot of big shows and different things, and a lot of people went on to different solo stuff, but a lot of the collective stuff is just, it died on a hard drive. There's albums worth of stuff that just kind of never came out type of deal,
I bet there's a lot of people who would love to hear that.
I think Zone's working on re-releasing some of that stuff now, so that's dope. I know he dropped that Sloth Liver, so yeah, shouts to everybody from Proper Knox / Big Bang.
That's dope, man. Yeah, how has your pain influenced your art, and in what ways does creating serve you?
Well, that's a good question. Pain definitely influences my art in that, I tend to make concept albums. When I'm making an actual album or an EP, it tends to be a concept album. And I've always kind of talked about what I'm feeling or thinking at the time that I'm recording. It's kind of like a snapshot of the period in my life, right? So I think we all go through painful times, so there's definitely plenty of songs where I express different things of pain in the music. What was the other piece of it?
What ways does creating serve you?
Well, I mean, it's a good catharsis, right? It lets you get things out so that you're not suppressing them, I think. Sometimes, too, when you're an artist and you've been an artist a long time, sometimes it's easier to articulate things when it comes to pain or more difficult topics in a song than you would otherwise. You could also use devices of speaking in a different, instead of the first person or things, or using metaphors.
Yeah.
So you might be able to speak on some pain in a more vulnerable way to you, you're here, it's getting out of you in that way, but at the same time, not being so vulnerable that someone knows exactly it's you or that. So I think that gives you kind of a safe space to communicate that stuff and do something productive or transmute that pain into some other type of energy,
Absolutely. How did you cope with past grief, and how do you cope now?
Past grief, straight up, I'd just go get me some Jameson and some beer and some drugs or whatever, you know what I mean? To be honest with you, that was a problem I had for a long time. You know, I was thinking of some of the heaviest moments of grief I've been through. I mean, there's been plenty, but like, one of my best friends, this when we were 9, there was a road rage incident with his cab, and this dude hit his head into a curb, and then he died, and then slowly in a coma for like a week. When we were like 25, that was pretty horrific. You know, there's other deaths and things like that were like violent deaths. Like my big homie, his nickname was S.A. Matt, but like he got shot in the back of the head when they were trying to rob for some weed when I was younger. So those are probably like, there's other things I could say for grief, but those are two of the biggest things I went through grief wise. And like in both those circumstances, didn't handle it very well. Kind of just suppress it, stay strong for everybody, then get mad drunk later and like kind of blow up, kind of a deal, or you know, do drugs or whatever. Now, like I eventually got trained up to be a Reiki master, so I do energy work on myself. I meditate, mindfulness, that's huge. Witnessing, so practice in mindfulness. Like I'm a life coach during my day job, so something we use where like you step back from your thoughts and realize you're the awareness that's hearing the thoughts. You're not the thoughts themselves. So even if they're really difficult, you know, intrusive thoughts, if you will, really dark thoughts, even if they give you a big like you know, heavy feeling in your body or really uncomfortable, like a somatic response, right? You can step back and notice those things and realize those aren't you. And then not resisting them, the theory is like they'll drop off, and the more you get used to doing this, right, you'll let thoughts kind of pass by and be more in the present moment, so that they don't affect you. You know, I do ceremonial magic, all kinds of stuff, but like those are probably the key practices would be, you know, meditation and technology assisted meditation, practices within mindfulness like witnessing, studying like the Christian mystics or different Hermetic knowledge and applying some of those like deeper principles to how you navigate with consciousness in your world. That's kind of the other one I think that was big too is like, okay, once I got sober, I've been clean and sober like 5 years. If like for anxiety, for example, which is like maybe different than like a grief, but it still could be painful. You hit the gym, you know what I mean? Hit the gym, do some martial arts. So do that too a bit. Clean your diet up. If your diet slips off, like that'll really affect anxiety. Depression too, like, hey, if you get in the gym, that boost of endorphins, like doing, turning your coping mechanisms from like unhealthy ones into like healthy coping mechanisms, essentially.
Yeah.
Like if I have to nutshell it all, right? There's a lot of modalities and things I do, and I work in a field that it's prevalently on my mind. So, but yeah, those are kind of the core things that I do.
Core things. That's a big, like, well-rounded core, man.
Yeah, I try to keep it, you know, you know, well-rounded.
You said you're a life coach?
Yeah, I work at a technology, you could describe it as a self-development company, or you could describe it as a meditation technology company. So I use some of that technology too, like it's binaural beat entrainment, which is if you play 2 different frequencies in one ear, your brain corrects to get to a certain brainwave state. And there's about 4 or 5 main brainwave states or states of consciousness that we know about. And we've started to learn over the last few decades or so, like certain brainwave states are associated with particular things, like qualities you'd want in your mind. And so we make use of that. And sometimes we'll use this technology called autophonics, which you play affirmations at a higher frequency, like a dog whistle, so that your conscious mind doesn't reject them and that the subconscious absorbs it.
Whoa.
Yeah, but we'll take you into, say, like a delta state. That's the state between sleep and being awake. Well, now you have more access to the subconscious. And that's where you're going to unearth a lot of the things that aren't serving you can't see, and where a lot of things get suppressed when you're working with healing. So I make use of some of those too. I have like access to their library of products, and I coach people working with it because it unearths things. So you might have different reactions to this as you're going through this process of unearthing difficult things and trying to change patterns that have been ingrained in you, but maybe they're not serving you, you know, and now you're just becoming aware of them, you know.
That's incredible. Yeah, I've been doing that for a while, but in therapy, I didn't know they had some kind of like audio machine to like.
So all this, we just sell audio. We just sell MP3s. We sell audio suites with MP3s. So like you just put on some headphones and do that. yeah, there's all kinds of modalities around that. Hypnosis too. Like I use that, and you can combine hypnosis with these different binaural beat entrainments. Affirmations, since it came up, that's another huge one. Is affirmations.
Yeah.
And like, there's debate on whether feeling them. I think it's best if you can feel the affirmation, right? Even if like you're not happy and you're like, I am happy, I am healthy, whatever, right? But I've also experimented with and seen that like, they'll refer to it as like a robotic affirmation. I found that like, yeah, if you just go repetitive on it for like extended periods of time, you can also reprogram the subconscious because of the repetition. And that can be really big too, because then you assume because essentially it'll push your brain into assuming the state, like the thoughts will bring you into a state of consciousness. And I'm real big on that, like whatever state of consciousness you occupy, like that's how you're gonna act. It's what you're gonna experience in your physical reality, all that sort of thing, right? So,
that's fascinating. Yeah, no, I had no idea that was a thing. Didn't know that you were a life coach outside of rapping. That's tight.
Yeah, just for a couple of years, you know. So yeah, it's pretty wild. If it shows you anything, you know, like. You could go from a drug-addicted drug dealer to like a sober life coach. You never know. You know what I mean? Just like move towards things that are positive and believe in yourself as much as you can, you know?
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's a gorgeous message.
Thank you.
I'm kind of hesitant to ask this now. When you're not creating, who are you?
I believe this. I believe that we're all just faceless, formless awareness. Right? We're all one energy that is basically an awareness that it exists essentially. And that's what makes up everything around us. A shorter way to put it might be I am. There's nothing you can put on something without saying I am that and put on yourself, right? And so there's a phrase that I am that I am. That's who I am regardless of when I'm creating or not, you know? If you strip it all the way, that's what I really am. Like, yeah, I'm Diction Uno or I'm Benjamin or whatever, and I'm in this shirt, in this body, in this room, whatever, having this conversation with you. But realistically, that's just things that the awareness that I am has like projected. Like, because what we really all are at the end of the day is just this faceless, formless awareness.
Damn. I love that. Yeah. Everyone I've spoken to, as we all have that similar, you know, belief about the awareness, and but no one's answered this question like that.
Okay, cool. That's what's up.
Yeah. Okay. When you feel invisible, how does it feel to be witnessed, and how do you carry that feeling forward to witness others?
That's a great question. I'd probably go back into like I would work on my self-concept and use affirmations or visualizations. If I'm feeling, unless it's like maybe I want to be invisible right then. All right, cool. Then I'm gonna maneuver with that strategic advantage depending on the circumstance. But let's say just in general, like I don't feel seen and heard, right? Like in the healing context, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
So I believe big in that, like we're all faceless, formless awareness, right? So everyone kind of pushed out sort of deal. I didn't invent that. Neville Goddard talks about this a lot. Somebody I'm really into. He's a mystic from the 40s. And so like you're responsible for your reality. Like I believe you're 100% responsible for your reality, like in a radical way, like literally even the physical things that happen around you, because it's all projections of your conscious and unconscious, right? Yeah. And you're really God. Like everyone is God. Like I if you don't like that term, I totally get it because I'm not theologian or into dogma at all. But realistically, that's like a pretty easy way to put it. So I would go into, if I was feeling invisible, I'd be like, okay, well, what's some statements that are short with an I am in front of it that would imply that I'm seen in the way that I want to be seen? What would the person who's being seen be like? I would think from that place. I would write down those affirmations, and I would probably spam them in my mind as much as possible during downtime, doing dishes, what have you. I might do some visualizations around like an end scene that implied in the first person that I'm seen in the way that I want to, talking to somebody else, and try to fall asleep in that state. That's probably what. And then what was the second piece? I'm sorry. For other people.
Yeah. How do you carry that feeling forward? You know, like when you feel witnessed? It's like, how do you carry that forward to witness others who may feel invisible?
Oh, yeah. So I would kind of do the same thing, honestly, but a little bit different. Like, the way that I see it is, you could do spells too, which is all similar things, right, with your consciousness. But I would be like, I would just use the same tools I was talking about, but apply them to someone else. I would visualize them telling me or somebody else that they really know that they feel really seen or what have you, right?
Yeah.
I would have some affirmations around that, perhaps. And then maybe in like what I would call the 3D or more physical, or if we want like a more pragmatic approach to that, maybe just listening more to people, or maybe just even letting them know outright, like, hey, I see you, I hear you, that sort of a thing.
Right. Okay.
Taking the space to listen, like I can be kind of loquacious, but I am good at listening when the time comes. Believe it or not,
I don't doubt that. Yeah, you seem like a highly intelligent person. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. What is one thing that you hope people will learn from you?
Oh, that's a good question. That you're never your worst mistake. Because your mind will play tricks on you about that. That you can be that which you dare to assume to be. You can be the version of who you want to be. Even if it's not showing up for you in this physical reality right here in this moment. Even if you're working on that and it's not showing up 2 years from now in this physical space. Yeah. Eventually, if you shift your consciousness towards something and work on the tools in your mind, it has no choice but to come manifest in the 3D reality. And so that would be the thing. Like, forgiveness is big. That's huge. Like, and the best way to forgive anybody else is to forgive yourself. And the same thing goes. Like, if you forgive everybody, then that makes it a lot easier to forgive yourself.
You are correct, because just like last week, I felt like I jumped into a new timeline, into a version of myself that I've actually been working.
That's awesome.
Hard to become, Yeah.
No, man, I've just been reading this book lately about that, called Parallel Universes of Self by Frederick Dodson. Are you familiar with him at all?
No, that's not.
You should check it out. It's dope. He talks about like jumping into an alternate timeline.
Okay.
Which all the other stuff I said doesn't conflict with that. It's just kind of different terminology, right? But I totally believe you could do that. It's like this. All the creation and everything that's already existed. If you're talking about in quantum physics and not any ancient spiritual literature, right, for lack of a better way to put it, that's like the string theory thing, right? Like everything already exists.
Right.
So you're simply selecting that version of that reality and going into it with your consciousness. And then in a scientific way that they point out, like, there's the observer effect and there's the experiment where they look at the particle through the slit, and then they realized when people were looking at it, actually altered the matter of it.
So
and then Schrodinger's cat, that whole thing. So
Yeah,
I totally believe that jumping into new timelines. I mean, in fact, one could argue, I kind of think, I believe I was reading on this, that like literally, let's say that, okay, in this world, I chose to take these nicotine pouches out and put them right here.
Sure.
Now that made a whole new universe where I chose to do that, right? That's a whole other timeline. There's a timeline where it stayed right here. There's a timeline where it wasn't even in my pocket, et cetera, right? An infinitum, essentially.
Yeah, that.
And we can't consciously shift into one with different techniques, tools, and practices.
Yeah, I've been talking about this more and more with people, just the infinity of it all. And I was telling another guest how I used to experience like visions, but I recently came to the conclusion that it's not something that was like out of me. I was traveling deeper inwards.
That makes a lot of sense.
And those like places that I was seeing externally, they're like you're saying, like different realities, like branching.
No, I like that too, because within is where I found like you're gonna find the answers. Like going within. If I had to put it in simpler even terms, it was like the tools are where somebody could go within. That's where you're gonna find it.
Really.
So if you think about like you talking about infinity, right? And if we think of a God, like again, I don't care. Call it roast beef, call it Jane, call it Steve, Bob, whatever you want to call it, right? It don't matter. But the main thing of that is that it is infinity. I am the Alpha and the Omega, right?
Yeah.
So like that means that's you. You're infinite, and I'll say this joke around, but I like this. It's like it's universe, not themiverse, right? Because you are the universe. You know what I mean? It's universe for a reason, because it's you.
Oh, excuse me.
It's just a mirror of you. You know what I'm saying? You are the universe.
Yes, yeah, and that's another theme that keeps coming up in these episodes. Is the mirror.
Yeah.
How? Do you know Johnny Rier?
No.
I spoke with him last week. Rier stands for reality as a reflection. So.
Oh wait, I think I saw him perform. Is he from Texas?
Yeah.
I did. Actually, he's dope. That stuck out because of his name. Because funny enough, I went to a show at Mississippi Pizza to see my homeboy Dusty Fox get down, and he was on the show. And he explained that, and as he's explaining that, I'm reading, I just finished reading The Kabbalion, which talks a lot about that, the mirror principle and things. I mean, I'm always familiar with it, but it's the 7 Hermetic laws of the universe, and that's in there. And I was reading that book on my phone while I was watching, like, because I'm kind of sitting in the back having pizza and reading while I'm, like, watching the show, right?
Yeah.
And I was reading that Frederick Doxson about the parallel universes. And when he said he said everything's a mirror, I was tripping because I'm like, yo, I just was reading about this in the Kabbalah. You know, so like I've been aware of that principle, but it's always good to put those things back in front of you, or they're worded different ways, right? To reinforce or get different seasoning in the broth, like, you know. Because like it might all be soup, but one day maybe you want tomato soup, one day maybe you want clam chowder, but it's still soup.
Exactly. Yeah. Because everything you're talking about, like I'm familiar, but you're using different language, so it's. And that can spark, all kinds of new knowledge in the person. Yeah. So.
No, that's a great point. Well, shout out to him. He was dope. I really appreciated the concept he talked about on stage, and he did very well at that show. I didn't have the pleasure of meeting him that evening, but did end up getting to see him perform at Mississippi Pizza there, Atlantis Lounge.
Brilliant man, for sure. Shout out Rier. Okay, what do you hope to gain from this journey?
That's a great question. That might change at any given time, I suppose. I'll put it like this. Because that's a big question. You're real sharp too. These questions are super well thought out, very deep questions. I guess if anything else, just I would want to leave behind more benefit, love, goodness, whatever you want to put on the most positive spectrum of things.
Yeah.
I would want to leave more of that behind than the opposite of that before I take off. If I could do that, that's a pretty good success, right? There's a lot of things that might fall under that umbrella. Maybe like reaching my highest potential, but ultimately that's what it is. Like, and particularly for the world as a whole, but particularly like the people that you care about the most, that you interact with on a regular basis. If you can leave having made their lives better and the world better as a whole,
absolutely.
That would probably be the loftiest goal I could think of as far as like why I carnated here in the first place type of deal.
Yeah, I like that. Pretty simple in theory. Hopefully, becomes easier in practice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that's a great way to put it.
So how do you experience God?
That's a good question. Probably the most tapped in I've ever been to that is getting into the mysticism of things and realizing like the your awareness thing. Like I experienced it internally, like as that I am presence. That seems to have resonated the most, and not just with what I've read and heard over and over again from different things, but I've studied for years on all kinds of different esoteric knowledge and exoteric knowledge and everything else. And it's like all the great world religions, not to make it religious, but there's always spiritual truths in those. Like they all kind of point to that. I feel like science at its highest levels points to that. But then experientially, like to test it. A lot of I'm really big into what there's a period of time in the turn of the century, mainly in America, but influenced by way older stuff called New Thought. And that's really influential on me. And a lot of them were Christian mystics or Kabbalists with a C. And that stuff coming from like Hermetic knowledge, right? And that big thing about like that really you are Jesus. That's what he was telling you, because he said his name was I am forever and ever.
Yeah.
And regardless of that figure, I feel like Buddha tells you the same thing. I got a small copy of the Dhammapada in my car, and when I read some of it, it sounds exactly like stuff Neville Goddard wrote.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I think you experience it within, but also without, because it's within everything. But I think the most experience I had where I connected to that concept was that realizing you're the awareness, the witnessing the thoughts, things like that Eckhart Tolle talks about stuff. Eckhart Tolle, I never know if I'm saying his name right, but
I'm not going to correct you. Yeah, I read The Power of Now.
Yeah, that's a good one. The New Earth's really good too. That's his other book that was a big deal
last year. Yeah,
that one's solid. Or like Wayne Dyer. I mean, there's lots of different modern versions of this, but
it's just interesting because I was when I first started rapping, I had like Trauma Memory Circus.
Okay, yeah,
and someone told me to check out The Power of Now, and it was weird. It was like I was fighting it while I was reading it, you know?
Yeah, it'll happen.
Because, I was trying to work through that past, try to understand it, resolve it, and then, I'm reading like the moment is now, and staying in the present, you know?
Right.
It's like, it was just a weird time, weird time to read that book.
No, understandably, probably the best time to read it, but yeah, I get it. The more frustrated you are with the circumstances and the more heavy what you're dealing with is, the more it's going to piss you off. And like, man, imagine if you watched Eckhart Tolle in an interview.
Yeah.
And when I first came across this book and was reading this like years ago when I was working at Netflix, a friend of mine who was became like a spiritual mentor. He helped attune me through the different degrees of becoming a Reiki master and everything. Mm-hmm. He put me up on him and we were watching his interviews, and sometimes just be like, but I do care about that I'm broke right now. And this guy's just like, nothing matters. We're right here in the moment. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I got bills to pay. And you know what I'm saying? Shit like that, right? So imagine if it's like a horrible trauma, but it is the information that's going for you the most, realistically. I
know.
But I totally relate to that. Because there's times of reading this book like, wow, I feel so great. You'd almost feel like his book was crazy, where I'd get these sensations of like God within me or something. I could say that now. At the time, I didn't even know. They just felt like these crazy highs where I'd put the book down, like, how's this book getting me high? Reading these words.
Yeah.
Right? But then there's other times of reading it, and I'm like, bro, shut the fuck up. We about to get evicted. What are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? It'd be something like that where I'm like, come on, bro. What are you doing? My bad, I didn't ask if we could curse on this. But,
of course. Yeah. And I think that's something that's fascinating. It's like, like you might be fighting with, like, what the book is telling you. But somewhere in you, it's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just weird how it kind of like takes over the negativity. And
ironically, he's telling you exactly about that while you're reading it, because he's telling you how the ego going to fight you, and then as you're reading his book, the ego fights you because it's like, hey, fuck this. It sounds like a one-way ticket to me being in the back seat. You know, the ego don't like that.
Yeah, no, the ego doesn't like to be wrong.
No.
Wow. Yeah, so that was actually my last question.
All right. Oh, well, thank you for having me on the show. Wait, what's the official title again?
This has been How We Heal, Turning Pain into Power.
Thank you for having me on How We Heal, Turning Pain into Power.
I'm your host, Daddy Magic, and this is Diction Uno. Diction, why don't you tell the people where they can follow you, your ads, some socials?
It's all Diction Uno, so it's super easy to find. DictionUno. All the things, that's where you're going to find me.
Hell yeah. Beautiful. Cool, man. Reiki blows me away. So I've been in therapy for like a decade.
Yeah.
I went to a Reiki master at Celestial Awakening in St. Vancouver.
Yeah.
And she helped me like get back in touch with my kid self, who basically like had been hiding, since my trauma happened. Yeah. And I was really disconnected from my past self, my kid self. And
someone else I know is my cousin. She's super dope. She just dropped a book called Spirit Walker. She used to be a forest ranger who went out in the wilderness and like lived in the woods deep for a long time, to the point where she had bears she could talk to when they were cool with her.
Okay.
And she had these channeled beings and Native American people and spiritual teachers that like, she channeled the beings, and she wrote a book about the channeled beings and some of the stuff.
I would love to speak with her.
Yeah, she's amazing. I'll reach out to her. She lives in Sandy. So I don't know if she might be able to come meet you out this way, or you might have to trek out to the property in Sandy.
Yeah, man, I'm down to go wherever
she's
I'm
definitely looking to do interviews and stuff too, because she just dropped that book, Spirit Walker, and she does soul readings like as her main job. Like she does soul readings on people and stuff. Okay. Yeah, her name's Susan Manano. She's incredible.
That'd be cool to get like a soul reading on the show. Yeah, would you be down to like pass my number along?
Yeah, not a problem. I'll lock you in. It's that 360 number.
How you gonna recover?
Yeah, I'll
Even if he died, he'll look one way. It ain't what it look like. Blood on the street, so to speak. The roads of my veins, waves crashing like the indices into my broken chambers. Atriums busted open, the dangers of leverage. I'm betting everything cause it meant that much. Thesis was forever, but you should never trust the love